Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Living the Midlife Dream. This is episode number 3, part 2 of last week's episode, which was and still is building the perfect midlife workout and wellness routine. So, before we get into today's episode, I am going to read you a quote that I heard a long time ago, and it's something that I remind myself of all the time, and it's very, very true. I would suggest writing it down and putting it somewhere to remind you as well. And that is, today is the youngest that you are ever going to be for the rest of your life. Think about that. Think about how young you are today. If you are 100 years old, someday you will be, God willing, you are going to look back on this day and think, oh my God, I was so young. Look at my skin. I thought I had wrinkles. Little did I know. But in all honesty, I just think that's a great reminder for us. Because a few weeks ago, I said I was doing this episode coming up about, midlife workout routines and wellness and blah, blah, blah. I talked about it on Instagram. And I said, if anybody has anything specific that you want me to talk about, let me know. And I actually got a lot of questions about nutrition. But one person actually kind of sent me a statement. It wasn't really a question, but she just said, I'm really struggling right now with nothing works. And I keep looking back at myself and I'm striving, trying to get back how I used to look a few years ago. And I totally get that because I've done that many times as well. But I just wanted to say this quote because it's a great reminder of we need to stop reaching back for yesterday and all the years that we looked, we're 20s or 30s or 40s, and how we looked then. We looked then, the way we didn't probably think we looked that great to begin with, right? We're always constantly striving for something. And I think that we need to stop that as women, especially in midlife. Like, listen, looking back, that ship has sailed. We're done with that. We are going to focus on today. We are midlife women. We are strong. We are capable. We are beautiful. And we got it going on. That's what I think. So we're going to start there today when it comes to nutrition and building this workout routine. So when I say that, here's the perfect workout wellness routine for midlife, it's more about, yes, of course we want to look great. We want to feel great, right? And when we're doing the workout and the nutrition, it's just to build upon what we're already doing, just to make ourselves feel amazing and go forward in life being strong, capable women and living our best lives. So that's where we're starting today. That was a mouthful. All right. I just wanted to recap last week's episode where we touched on, I talked about there's 4 pillars and it's sleep, nutrition, workouts, and connection. And last week we talked about sleep, and I went all through sleep routines and how I wind down at night. I didn't really touch on the supplements that I use, and I will get into all of that during this episode. I thought, you know what, I'll just touch on all of them today during the nutrition episode. Let me also just preface this before we go any further with I am not a nutritionist. I am not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I am just a non-practicing personal trainer and fitness instructor so I am not prescribing anything. I am just here to tell you what I did and what I do, I should say, what has worked for me, and maybe it will give you some ideas and things that you can try yourself. So that's out of the way. Okay, so last week we touched on the sleep routine and the workouts. And, I would definitely strongly suggest if you are like rebranding your workout routines here and your whole health, I would start with sleep and nutrition. Those would be the number 2 things I would start with. Number 1 would probably be sleep, because without it, you got nothing. You are exhausted. You're not doing a workout. You're not eating right. So start with your sleep. Then you can move on to nutrition. Then we'll get into workouts. And I'll talk about the connection piece at the very end here. Okay, so the workouts, though, we did talk about, we're doing progressive overload. And I cannot stress enough, I'm not going to get all into it again because I already did this last week. But progressive overload and just pare down to the basics. I know that as Gen X women, we are conditioned to think that our face has to be red, sweaty, we need to be out of breath for our workouts to be effective, and it just is not the case. That did work way back when we were in our 20s and 30s and 40s, but now in our 50s and beyond, pare it down to the basics. Do a nice strength training workout. You are going to do the same workout week in and week out for at least 8 weeks, and you are going to use the progressive overload method. And then you can walk. You can walk with your friends. You can walk alone. You can hike, wear a weighted vest. I started implementing that. It's great, but you are not going to do any crazy workouts anymore as your main form of workouts. That's all I'm going to say on that because, I'm just repeating myself from last week. Let's move on, shall we? We are going to move on to nutrition/food. So, where to begin with this? I want to talk about macros today. I feel very strongly about that tool, macros as a tool, and tracking macros, I should say, as a tool. So if you don't know what a macro is, it's basically your macronutrients. It's your protein, your carbs, and your fats. And you can track them. So you can get your specific macros just for you by using there's free calculators everywhere. I will put one in the show notes here for you. And I also just did a whole post on this on Instagram if you want to go and find that. I did that last week. And it just goes through how to calculate exactly what to do. So a very easy, if you want to just start with like basics, I would start with tracking your protein. And I'm going to just use an example of if you are a 150-pound woman, you are going to try to get 150 grams of protein in every day. And you can do it. It's not as hard and daunting as, you're thinking that it is. I do it almost every day, actually, and I weigh 108 pounds, and I am packing in the protein. It keeps you full, it's satiating, and it's just a muscle building, amazing thing. So use protein as your number one thing that you're going to work on. And then we can talk about, carbs and fats and all this stuff. I do have some notes here, and I got my readers back on, my favorite readers, in case you're watching. So anyway, the pushback that I always get from women when I talk about macros is, this happens. I can't even tell you how many times this happens. So many times. I have friends that'll say to me, can you please help me? I'll do whatever you say. I'll do whatever you say. Okay. Here's I say, send me your weight, your blah, 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 blah. I do the calculations for them. I send it back. I say, download, MyFitnessPal. It's free. Get the free version. I mean, I've had this happen to me a few times where they write back and say, never mind. This is too much. Like, what? You just said you'd do anything. You're sick of the way you look. You don't want to do. Oh, I can't track anything. It's like, yes, you can. This is not that hard. I swear it's not. And it's not something that you have to do for the rest of your life. I strongly, strongly suggest that you do it for 2 weeks just because it is such an eye-opening experience. You think you're eating healthy. I was one of those people too, like, I know how to eat. I know what to do. And then when I first started tracking macros, I was like, oh my God, the amount of fat that I was consuming, it's insane. So I'll just leave it like there. But so I would strongly suggest tracking macros, and we're going to get into all of that. But like I said, if you want to just get into protein first and just track your protein and try to get more protein, that would be an amazing thing to do. So we can talk about, the carbs and the fats. Carbs are going to be like where you're going to get your energy and your fiber, like from your veggies, your fruits, your whole grains. And then fats are really, really good for hormone health and brain power. Healthy fats are avocados, nuts, olive oils, things like that. There is such a thing. This may be controversial, but I'm going to say it because it's what happened to me. There is such a thing as having too much healthy fat. So I would just put my hand in the nuts and down the hatch they go. And that's like 15 grams of fat for like a quarter cup of nuts. So you can really overdo it with that. So that's what I mean about it's just really eye-opening. I strongly suggest doing it. I'll get into to all of that. But let's start with what to eat. The thing about macros is that there's this saying, it's called if it fits your macros, meaning, basically you can eat whatever you want. And it's very true. You can have the M&Ms, you can eat whatever you want if it fits your macros. Let's just say you have 50 grams of fat per day, 150 carbs, and 150 grams of protein. So you're going to get into tracking all that. But if a bag of M&Ms is 15 grams of fat, you're not going to want to eat the whole well, you're not going to want to eat the whole thing anyway. But you can really make things fit. So you can figure out by when you use a food scale. I know this is starting to sound tedious, and it's not. But when you really start to just weigh things out and see what you can and can't have, it fits together like a puzzle, like Tetris. Remember that game? That's how I used to always, when I first got into macros, I would pre-log my food the night before just so I could see what was fitting and what I was having and have things planned out. And I thought it was fun. It was like a game, like pre-planning things and making things fit. And I thought of it like Tetris, like it's fun. My idea of fun and your idea of fun might be very different things. But let's start with just like whole foods and getting your carbs from, vegetables and fruits. I love berries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries. They tend to be higher in fiber when it comes to fruits. Some fruits are better than others, but honestly, I'm not one of those people that says you can't have an apple because there's sugar in that, or don't have a banana. It's like, I can't stand that train of thought. I just think it's fruit. And if I want to have an apple, I'm going to have an apple. I don't really think that there's anyone in the world that has become overweight because they ate too many apples. So that's my thought on that. Start with whole foods, shop the perimeter of the store. That's where all the good stuff is. Try out new vegetables, new fruits. I started doing that, and it's actually another fun thing. I found star fruit, and it's really cool when you cut into it. It's literally a star, but it tastes really good. It's something different. So that's something fun to do. You could try a new vegetable or fruit every time you food shop. Let me know what you tried. I'd love to know. Go for more of those single ingredient foods other than the ultra processed foods. Your body actually, yes, it may fit in your macros, but your body actually does much better when you're eating whole foods, obviously. The thing I do like about macros is that you can always fit things in. Like if you want to have those, if you are going out to dinner and you're like, I want to have a glass of wine, all of these things fit into your macros and you can make it work, especially when you're trying to lose weight. I just think macros is definitely the way to go. It is a complete game changer. Your mind will be blown. So let's see what else. My notes here. I would get into meal prepping. So I do that every Sunday. I take some time during the week. I research, find the recipes that I want to make and make my food list, get the food shopping out of the way. And then Sunday afternoons are usually when I am doing my food prep for the week. Get my glass containers out and I will batch cook like grilled chicken, ground beef, whatever it is. I get a bunch of proteins and just cook them so that we have them here for lunches and dinners. Most of the time, though, around here, I'm just batch cooking for lunches. And then I'll do I love roasting vegetables. I always buy frozen vegetables because I don't know if you're like me, but I will go and buy fresh vegetables and then I end up not using them and throwing them out. And it's such a waste. It kills me. So buy organic frozen vegetables and they're always in the freezer. I literally take them from the freezer right onto my baking sheet. I spray some oil on top, put a little salt, put them right into the oven frozen. They're amazing. You can roast them, get a nice little char on them. I do that with a lot of vegetables, so I always have those going. And then you just can always take some vegetables if I want to make some rice or some cauliflower rice and then throw my protein in, and now you have the perfect lunch. I do eat lunches like that. I don't do salads. There's nothing wrong with salads, of course. I personally just don't get filled from them, and I find that I'm eating more food later. So I'd rather have a nice, satiating, hearty lunch and then go about my day and be full and energized. That's just me. So that's something I want you to start thinking about too, is meal prepping and planning. Where I get a lot of my recipes is from Lily Eats and Tells. I absolutely love her. I'm not affiliated with her in any way. I just have been following her for years and years on Instagram. I have a bunch of her cookbooks, but you can get so many of her recipes. She has so many recipes on her blog and on Instagram. I'll put her in the show notes as well, just so you can start following her. She's awesome. Okay, what else did I touch on with macros? I talked about the calculator. I'm going to put in, you're going to figure out your macros. Get a food scale. You can get an inexpensive food scale. I'll put one in the show notes as well. I highly recommend getting a food scale if you're going to do this and you're going to follow and measure out your food by grams. If you're saying to yourself already, Danielle, I don't want to do that. You don't have to. But if you're coming to me and you're like, I want to lose weight, I want to change my body, I want to get protein in. If you want to put muscle on, you need to have more protein. You actually need to be eating more food. So you might find that you are not eating enough food. That's always a fun surprise, right? You can actually eat more food. And I think a lot of women in midlife were so conditioned to be restricting or to be on a diet of some sort, when actually you need to eat more food and put on the muscle, and your whole body is going to change. I guarantee it. So get a food scale. We're going to measure out in grams, and that's how you're going to track it. You are not going to track it by a tablespoon of peanut butter or a half a cup of, chicken. No, you're going to measure it out by grams, just because it's much more accurate. So that's that. You're going to food prep, and I want you to just kind of look at it like, this is not a diet. I hate when people say this, but I'm going to say it. This is not a diet, ladies. This is a lifestyle. But it's true. I mean, we're not dieting, because when I tell you, Kevin is retired, and Kevin likes to eat dinner out a lot. And this is probably one of our only things that it's not that we argue about it, but he'll be like, can we go out to dinner tonight? And I'm like, come on, we just went out. So, when I'm saying that I'm dieting or not dieting, I really mean it. I'm not dieting, because we do eat dinner out a lot more than I would like. Yeah. So, but I make it work, and there's plenty of ways of doing that. This is a good little teaching moment here. If you're following your macros, and you're going to be going out to dinner that night, and you want to have a glass of wine, you want to enjoy dinner, of course you can. So I always look ahead to see the menu, and then I will just kind of guess. It's not that all the menus are going to have, their calorie count and macro count. Harvest used to do that a long time ago. When I was first learning macros, they had macros, a macro menu. It was amazing. I don't think they have it anymore. But anyway, that was probably a bad thing. But anyway, I will go on there, and usually I'm picking fish or grilled chicken, whatever, but I just plug it in, and I usually end up adding a bit more fat, because whether you like it or not, you go out to eat to dinner, they are cooking things in butter and oil. That's why it tastes so good. So you're getting way more fat and sodium. This is why I don't like to eat out multiple times a week, but it's my cross to bear. Woe is me. Anyway, so you can go on there and figure out what you're going to eat, make that work for your MyFitnessPal, and then just, work backwards from there. That's what I do on days that we're going out to eat dinner or whatever. I just work backwards. And honestly, let me just say this. There have been plenty of times where I had something falling for dinner, Kev, because actually last night I was in no mood to cook, and I was like, you know what? We're going to order out tonight. He was like, yes. So there's plenty of times that happens too. And you just order something that's somewhat healthy, This is life. We got to live a little here. So that's my whole thing with macros. I just think they're amazing. It's an amazing tool. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to be obsessing about things. It's just a great tool to have in your back pocket. All right, moving on. I did get a few questions, like I said, from Instagram. One of them was, let's see here, pre and post workout snacks and meals. Okay, so For pre and post workout meals, I'll call them meals. Because they are, if I'm doing like a lower body workout, I'm lifting heavy and I'm working hard and I need to eat before. I don't intermittent fast anymore. I did that when I was in my 40s. It worked until it didn't. You know what, to be honest with you, I wake up and I'm hungry. So I'm going to eat. So if I'm going to do my leg workout in the morning, I definitely eat something before I go. Depends. I'll eat a little more for a leg day because there's absolutely nothing worse than getting halfway through your workout and you're just like, all you can focus on is your hunger and your lack of energy. So that's not happening anymore. I bring my drink with me when I work out of my Armra colostrum, my creatine, my electrolytes, and my big giant Stanley. And then I definitely eat something though before I get there. Usually it's like a rice cake with peanut butter and maybe a banana. If I'm doing a lower body day, I will have something more substantial, like I might actually eat a meal. The other day, I just scrambled one egg and I had an English muffin. So that was good. You want to have a little bit more carbs and protein when you're going into your workout. And then I always have like my biggest meal, not my biggest meal, a big meal right after I work out for sure. Protein, carbs, fat. I tend to work out in the morning, usually around 7:30. So I'll eat something right before I go and work out. And then I have like my big breakfast when I'm done working out. So that's my pre and post workout. But I would definitely suggest having a pre-workout snack or something, no matter what time of the day you're working out. And then when you're done working out, just get some protein in you. If this is later in the day and, it's not breakfast or lunchtime, just get some protein in afterwards. I had a question on eating when not hungry, how to break that habit. This is a tough one. I don't really have a great answer for this. I do find that when I'm home, working from home, I'm hungry. And I don't know what it is. I guess it's just knowing that the kitchen is right there. Sometimes I find myself just walking around the kitchen because I'm bored, and I'm not hungry. But if I'm like out running errands, I could go for hours and hours and not be hungry. So I would say how to break that habit. I mean, that's just have to be, maybe you could break down your meals into small meals so you know what's coming next. Preoccupy yourself, go out for a walk, go run your errands at times. Like sometimes I do that. I save my errands or whatever I have to do, appointments and stuff for the afternoon. Something about the afternoon, like around between 3 and 4:30, it's like, you're hungry, but are you really? So anyway, I try to do stuff around that time when I know. And maybe you could even do a workout then. That would be amazing. I don't think I could. I find I must work out in the morning. Otherwise, it hangs over my head. I drag my feet and then I end up not doing it. It's really, my hat goes off to people that work out at night. Amazing. Okay. And then let's see some snack ideas. I do apples with peanut butter and a little bit of granola. I might do my yogurt bowl on a smaller scale, like cut all the ingredients in half. Protein bars. I like making these muffins from Lily Eats and Tells. Like in the afternoon, I might do a muffin with a coffee. So that's snack ideas. Not big snacker. I tend to have more bigger meals now than I did before, but I definitely have my Ninja Creamy every single night. I love the Ninja Creamy. I just did a couple of reels on that on Instagram. If you missed that, go check that out. But I'll put that in the show notes too. That thing is amazing. I absolutely love it. Can't say enough about it. All right. Lastly, I just want to talk about some supplements. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds here. I always say to everybody, I had blood work done just to see what I was deficient in. I would suggest everybody do that. It's great. And it like gives you some guidance on what to do. So you're not just like getting all these supplements, which I have done in the past. I have a lot of supplements and I've tried many, many things. And what I'll say to you, I have definitely, as with my workouts, I have pared down to the basics. So I do vitamin D, a B12. I do a macular supplement for my old lady eyes. That's not something I think most people need. My eye doctor has me on that. I do my DHA, EPA, the fish oil, creatine. my Armra colostrum. I cannot say enough about the Armra colostrum. You guys hear me talk about that all the time, and I know that you see it everywhere, but I'm telling you, I have been on that for 18 months. I swear it's why my hair is this long, my nails are strong, my gut is strong. I feel amazing on it. I really, really do. I really believe in that one. I have, and the creatine too. It does not bloat you. I had somebody ask me that the other day, like, oh, I heard it really bloats you. It makes you gain a lot of weight. Absolutely does not do that. Creatine hydrates your muscles, but you're not getting like bloating. You know what I'm saying? There's a big difference. So I think everybody should be on creatine too. Protein powders. I love Clean Simple Eats protein powders. The food scale we talked about. Okay, wait, I'm getting off chart. I just looked at my note, glanced at my notes and saw food scale. Okay, so sorry. Vitamin D, B12, magnesium at night, creatine, my Armra, the protein powders, and those are pretty much the main supplements that I think everyone should be taking, like the basics. Those are just like the basics. Can't say enough about those. So I would say get blood work if you can, and then you can start looking into these. And then the brands that I like the best, do your own research. Everybody says not to buy your supplements on Amazon because I guess they don't have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Does this happen to anybody else in menopause? Like you're thinking about something and then it's just like, it's gone. You don't want to buy your supplements from Amazon, and we're just going to go with that. They can, cracking myself up. Okay, sorry. Because they can basically, there's sometimes, I guess it's been told that they don't have quality control. That's what I was looking for, quality control. So just buy straight from the actual manufacturer. And I like Thorne, and I like Metagenics a lot, and Pure Encapsulations. Those are 3 really good brands that I would suggest, but also I would say do your own research. And that, my friends, concludes today's episode. We talked all about nutrition. What I didn't tell you is the 4th pillar, connection. And we are actually going to get into this in March. My cousin, who some of you may know from our Facebook Live that we did, that we still laugh about, we did over COVID. It was a disaster. But anyway, I'm just looking up because she sent me exactly how I should refer to her. Okay. She has a master's degree in applied positive psychology. She's amazing. She's smart, and she's so fun to talk with. So we're going to do a whole thing about connection in midlife with applied positive psychology. And I think that'll be a really fun episode and very informative. And we will do that. That'll be coming out in March, maybe in about a month, I'd say. Okay, so thank you so much for listening today. I hope this gave you lots to think about. I hope you found some value here and start finding things to apply to your own life. If you have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. I am happy to help in any way possible. If you liked this episode, please subscribe. Please share it with your friends, rate it, review it, all the things. And you guys, I will talk to you next Monday. Take care.